There is one thing about America that has confused the rest of the world for more than a century. How can the richest sports nation on earth, the country that built billion-dollar leagues, the country that turned athletes into global celebrities, the country that dominates so many international sports, still struggle to embrace the world's most popular game? Soccer, a sport followed by billions, a sport capable of bringing entire nations to a standstill, a sport that has created legends, dynasties, and unforgettable moments on every continent. Every continent except one. Because while Europe worshipped soccer, while South America lived and breathed it, while Africa and Asia dreamed of it, America looked in another direction. For more than 100 years, the United States tried to make soccer matter. It imported legends, built leagues, hosted World Cups, spent billions of dollars, and launched one ambitious project after another. Yet every time it seemed soccer had finally arrived, something pulled America back toward its own sports. This is not just the story of soccer. It is the story of culture, identity, business, and one nation's century-long struggle with the world's favorite game. This is the story of how America spent 100 years trying to make people love soccer. Chapter 1: The Game America Rejected. The story begins in the late 19th century. At the time, soccer was spreading across the globe at an incredible speed. British sailors carried it to distant ports. Workers introduced it to industrial cities. Students brought it to universities. Within a few decades, soccer had become a truly international sport. But in the United States, something unusual happened. Americans did not simply adopt foreign sports, they reinvented them. Baseball exploded in popularity. American football evolved from rugby. Basketball was invented in 1891. Soon, America was creating its own sporting universe, its own rules, its own heroes, its own traditions, and soccer found itself competing against sports that were already becoming deeply connected to American identity. By the early 20th century, baseball was known as America's pastime. College football attracted enormous crowds. Basketball was growing rapidly. Soccer had arrived in America, but it had arrived too late. The country's sporting landscape was already crowded. For many Americans, soccer felt foreign. It belonged to immigrants, to newcomers, to communities that had not yet fully blended into mainstream American culture. And that perception would haunt the sport for decades. While soccer became a global language, America developed a language of its own. Chapter 2: The Forgotten Soccer Nation. Ironically, there was a time when American soccer showed signs of life, a time many people have completely forgotten, in the 1920s. Long before Major League Soccer, long before David Beckham, long before Lionel Messi, the United States actually had a professional soccer league that attracted thousands of fans, the American Soccer League. Cities in the Northeast embraced the game. Immigrant communities filled stadiums. Teams competed fiercely. For a brief moment, some observers believed soccer might become one of America's major sports. Then everything fell apart. Internal conflicts damaged the league. Financial problems emerged. And then came the Great Depression. Many clubs disappeared. Crowds vanished. Investors walked away. By the 1930s, soccer had largely disappeared from the national spotlight. And while the rest of the world entered soccer's golden age, America moved on without it. For decades, the sport survived mostly in immigrant neighborhoods, out of sight, out of the headlines, out of the conversation. By the middle of the 20th century, soccer was practically invisible in mainstream American culture, and that invisibility would become one of the biggest challenges the sport ever faced, because people cannot love something they rarely see. Chapter 3: The Man Who Was Supposed to Change Everything. Then came Pelé, the greatest soccer player on earth. By the 1970s, soccer's popularity around the world had become impossible to ignore. American investors believed they had discovered the perfect solution. If Americans did not care about soccer, maybe they would care about a superstar. In 1975, Pelé signed with the New York Cosmos. The announcement shocked the sports world. Suddenly, America had soccer's biggest icon, and for a while, it worked. Crowds flooded into stadiums, television networks paid attention, celebrities sat in the stands. Journalists began talking about soccer as the next big thing. The Cosmos became a sensation. Pelé wasn't just a player.
He was a global phenomenon, and everywhere he went, cameras followed. The atmosphere felt electric. Some people genuinely believed they were witnessing the birth of a soccer revolution. Then other stars arrived. Franz Beckenbauer, Johann Neeskens. International legends began joining the league. The dream seemed real. But there was a hidden problem. The fans loved Pele. They loved the celebrities. They loved the spectacle. But they had not truly fallen in love with soccer itself. And when Pele retired, the illusion began to crack. Attendance dropped, money disappeared, interest faded. The league entered a downward spiral. By 1984, it was gone. The North American Soccer League collapsed. The revolution was over, and America had failed again. Chapter 4: America's Soccer Humiliation. The collapse left American soccer in a terrible position. The professional league was dead. The national team was weak. And the rest of the world was moving further ahead every year. Brazil was producing legends. Argentina was creating icons. Germany was building a football machine. Italy was thriving. England remained obsessed. Meanwhile, the United States struggled simply to stay relevant. For decades, America failed to qualify consistently for the World Cup. Imagine that. The world's richest sports market, one of the most powerful countries on earth, unable to compete in the world's biggest sporting event. For many soccer fans around the globe, America became a punchline, a giant that couldn't play the world's game. And perhaps the most painful part was this: most Americans didn't even notice. Because while the rest of the world cared deeply about the World Cup, millions of Americans barely knew it existed. Soccer wasn't losing. It wasn't even competing. It was being ignored. And that may have been worse. But then something unexpected happened. A decision that would change the future of American soccer forever. A decision many people thought was completely insane. In 1988, FIFA made one of the boldest choices in its history. It awarded the 1994 World Cup to the United States. Chapter 5: The World Cup Nobody Wanted. When FIFA announced that the United States would host the 1994 World Cup, the reaction was immediate and brutal. Many people thought FIFA had made a terrible mistake. How could the world's biggest soccer tournament be hosted by a country that barely cared about soccer? To traditional football nations, the decision felt almost offensive. Countries with generations of soccer history had been passed over, and the tournament had been given to America, a place where many people couldn't even name the stars of the sport. Critics predicted empty stadiums, poor television ratings, and an embarrassing failure. But FIFA saw something others did not. America had something no other country possessed: money, infrastructure, massive stadiums, and an unmatched ability to turn sporting events into spectacles. Still, nobody knew what would happen. The World Cup was entering unknown territory. For the first time, the world's favorite sport would try to conquer the world's largest sports market. And the stakes could not have been higher. Because if the tournament failed, soccer's future in America might die with it. Chapter 6:
the summer that shocked the world. Then came the summer of 1994, and suddenly, everything changed. Fans arrived from every corner of the globe. Mexicans, Brazilians, Argentinians, Germans, Italians. Thousands upon thousands of supporters filled American cities with color, songs, and passion. Many Americans had never seen anything like it. The atmosphere felt different. Out. Crowds exceeded expectations. Television audiences grew. Even people who knew almost nothing about soccer became curious. By the end of the tournament, over 3.5 million spectators had attended matches, a World Cup attendance record. One that still stands today. The same experts who predicted disaster now found themselves asking a different question. Had America finally fallen in love with soccer? The answer was complicated, because while the World Cup was a massive success, a tournament lasts only 1 month. Building a soccer culture takes generations, and once the celebration ended, the real challenge began. How do you keep the momentum alive? How do you transform a successful event into a permanent movement? America now had an opportunity, but opportunities disappear quickly, and soccer's future once again hung in the balance. Chapter 7. Building a league from scratch. Before awarding the World Cup, FIFA had demanded something important. America needed a new professional soccer league, not a temporary project, a real league, one built to survive. That league became Major Soccer League, MLS. When the league launched in 1996, expectations were high, but reality arrived quickly. Many teams struggled. Attendance was inconsistent. Television ratings remained low. Financial losses piled up. Some franchises folded. Others nearly disappeared. At times, it looked like MLS might suffer the same fate as previous leagues. Many observers believed its collapse was only a matter of time. Yet, unlike earlier attempts, MLS refused to die. League officials made difficult decisions. They cut costs, invested in youth development, built soccer-specific stadiums, focused on long-term growth instead of short-term headlines. Progress was slow, painfully slow. There were no miracles, no overnight transformation. But year after year, the league survived. And survival itself became a victory, because for the first time in decades, American soccer finally had a foundation strong enough to build something bigger. Chapter 8, the Beckham Revolution. Then came David Beckham, and everything changed again.
By 2007, Beckham was more than a soccer player. He was a global celebrity, one of the most recognizable athletes on earth. When he announced his move to the LA Galaxy, the news spread across the world. Suddenly, MLS was international news. People who had never watched an American soccer match suddenly paid attention. Sponsors became interested, broadcasters became interested, investors became interested. But Beckham's impact went far beyond ticket sales. He changed perceptions. For years, MLS had been viewed as a minor league, a place nobody serious wanted to play. Beckham challenged that image. His arrival signaled that America could become part of the global soccer conversation. And he wasn't the last. Soon, other stars followed. Thierry Henry, Kaká, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Wayne Rooney. Big names brought credibility, and credibility brought growth. Slowly, soccer stopped feeling like an outsider. It was becoming part of the American sports landscape. Not yet, but impossible to ignore. Chapter 9. The Generation That Changed Everything. While famous stars attracted headlines, a different revolution was taking place, one that received far less attention. Children. Millions of them. The generation that watched the 1994 World Cup was now growing up. Unlike their parents, many had played soccer from a young age. They joined youth academies, weekend leagues, school teams. For them, soccer wasn't foreign. It was normal. It was theirs. And as technology evolved, another barrier disappeared. American fans could now watch European soccer live every week. The English Premier League, La Liga, the Champions League. For decades, watching elite soccer had been difficult. Now it was available everywhere. A teenager in Texas could watch Manchester United. A student in California could follow Barcelona. A family in New York could wake up every weekend and watch Europe's biggest clubs. The world had become connected, and soccer entered American homes like never before. The sport was no longer competing for attention once every 4 years. It was competing every week, every day, every season. And gradually, it started winning more fans. Chapter 10. Then Messi arrived. And then came Lionel Messi, perhaps the greatest player in soccer history. When Messi joined Inter Miami, it wasn't simply a transfer. It was a global event. The impact was immediate. Ticket prices exploded. Stadiums sold out. Television audiences surged. Social media exploded with clips and highlights. People who had never watched MLS suddenly wanted to see Messi. It felt strangely familiar. America had seen something similar before, back in the 1970s, with Pele. But this time, the situation was different, because MLS was no longer a fragile experiment. The league was stable. Youth development was improving. Infrastructure existed. Fans already cared. Messi wasn't creating soccer culture from nothing. He was accelerating a movement that had been growing for decades. And his arrival happened at the perfect moment, because another World Cup was approaching, a World Cup that would once again be hosted in North America. Chapter 11. Why Soccer Still Isn't Number One. Despite all this progress, one question remains. Why isn't soccer the biggest sport in America? The answer is simple: competition. Most countries built their sports culture around soccer. America did not. America already had giants. The NFL dominates television. The Super Bowl is practically a national holiday. The NBA has global superstars. College football attracts crowds larger than many professional leagues around the world. Baseball remains deeply rooted in American history. Soccer wasn't entering an empty market. It was entering one of the most competitive sports markets ever created. Every fan, every television viewer, every sponsorship dollar had to be earned. And yet, despite these obstacles, soccer continued growing. Year after year, generation after generation. What once seemed impossible was becoming reality. Not domination, but acceptance. Conclusion. The final test. For over 100 years, America has been fighting the same battle. A battle not against another country, not against another league, but against its own culture. It brought Pele. It built leagues. It hosted the World Cup. It invested billions. It developed players. It welcomed global superstars. And slowly, almost invisibly, soccer began changing America. Today, millions of American children grow up dreaming of becoming soccer players. Millions of fans wake up early to watch European matches. Major League Soccer is stronger than ever, and the World Cup is returning. But perhaps the biggest surprise is this. Maybe America never truly failed. Maybe the goal was never to make soccer replace football, basketball, or baseball.
Maybe the goal was simply to make soccer matter. And after a century of struggle, that battle may finally be over. Because whether America realizes it or not, the world's game has finally found a home in the United States. And in 2026, the entire world will be watching to see what happens next. The question is no longer whether America loves soccer. The question is how much bigger that love can become. After 100 years, the story is still being written. And the next chapter may be the biggest one yet.